First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Weatherman, we can't allow any further delay. So stop your waiting.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. Today is Thursday, September 12th. I'm meteorologist Jeff Orgeron, joined by Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson. Hey, Mark.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
This is episode 116. They're just flying by.
They
and so did the year. I mean, good Lord, we're already in mid-September. It feels like things are changing out there weather-wise.
Jeff, that means you're getting old if you start noticing time moving by quicker.
I mean, my daughter's already over 9 months old. Can you believe that?
Things are flying by. And sorry, folks, it's just the dude show today. No Camilla, no Katie.
Yeah, they'll
just
hopefully make an appearance soon enough. Mark, you texted me, though, yesterday, and you're like, back to the rainforest. What did you mean by that?
Oh, since I live in the west slopes of the Cascades, or the Western Gorge, what did I get?
I'm
going to pull this up on oh, yeah, I had an inch. Well, for one, my driveway was washed out again. After I paid somebody to smooth it out, I have a gravel driveway that's kind of steep on a corner. And I came home last night, and it was all rutted again. I think we had, I don't know if you have numbers coming up, but we had over an inch of rain. And I know I had about an inch and a half in about 24 hours. And some of those were big downpours.
Yeah. We're going to be covering that for sure.
And and I just saw a thing from the local fire department that burning is okay now after the showery days. So burning season kind of half open already, which is pretty quick.
Where?
This is out in the Corbett Fire District.
Okay. So locally up in the Cascade foothills, northern Oregon Cascades. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about fires all morning long. California, of course, Central Oregon. So I think we need to specify. But you're right. And I was actually highlighting that too. Fire danger has dropped off significantly simply because of the cooler temperatures, higher humidity, cloudier skies, the areas of light showers. Our vegetation is just so much wetter. It's hard for a fire to spread in those kind of conditions.
It may look like I just woke up, just stumbled onto this thing, but I did actually check, because as any good meteorologist would with the morning coffee, I did check the fire detections because I was curious, Jeff, because, things got so crazy the last few days, late last week, early this week with over in Central Oregon with a bunch of lightning starts. I checked. You can actually go on one site there and you can look at the hotspot detection from space. You can do 12, 24, or 48 hours. So I turned off, I had 48 hours by default on, and there were over west of Sun River, there were tons of, detections because that fire, little lava fire was hot.
Lava, yeah.
So I turned off the 48. So it's only the past 24 hours. There was only one speck in the last 24 hours down in Southern Oregon. That was it.
Great.
So they really cooled off big time.
I had a feeling, just because of the pattern that we're in. So Mark alluded to this. We're going to be talking about what was an active evening in weather yesterday evening, Wednesday evening, if you're watching this a little bit later than we've recorded. It does feel like we're entering the rainy season. Climatologically, that lines up, so we'll go over some of those statistics. We'll talk about what's ahead weather-wise, both in the short range, medium range, and perhaps the long range as well. Let's talk about the average first frost as well. We're starting to creep into fall, and I know a lot of people are still picking things from their gardens. I have some special photos to share with Mark.
Oh, special. Are they apple photos?
I don't want to give it up just yet.
Okay. Fine.
Then we have a couple of viewer photos to wrap up the podcast with. So a lot to go over. Let's get this party started. So, yeah, I was 7 o'clock. I was actually already asleep. I crashed early yesterday. It was a long day, and we had some hefty downpours that started firing up.
You just said you were asleep at 7 p.m.?
I was. Actually, usually I'm kind of lingering around 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Seeing what's going on. Social media or, checking emails. And no.
You got to change your hours. Mm-hmm.
I was out yesterday by 7 o'clock. But that's when things really started to ramp up, Mark, around the metro area. If you're just listening, we always suggest watching the podcast.
Right.
And this is just a snapshot of the radar at 7 o'clock. And I'm going to take you through the next few half hours. Okay, Mark?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's great. But you know what? Before you do that,
okay,
I just need verification. So this is 7 p.m. yesterday. So you were about to fall asleep or you were falling asleep. Does that mean you were, and I know we don't keep these. Oh, yeah, we do. We do keep that data back 24 hours, don't we? I thought you actually were sitting there just before you went to bed snapshotting these, but
No.
you did them this morning, right?
No,
Okay.
I did it this morning. Yeah.
I knew, okay, you're not that hardcore. I mean, you are that hardcore, but I thought, wait, he was just sitting there like half asleep, snapshotting every half hour.
We're recording the podcast. I got to get some screenshots. No, that was not what happened.
I get it. I forgot we can go back on in this setup.
It fits the mold though. It does. Yeah. No, so I was out by 6:45. This was 7 o'clock, and yeah, we had multiple cells firing up, producing heavy rainfall rates. Look what happened. 7:30. They start to shift over the central east side. 8 o'clock.
Oh.
8:30.
Well, that's a lot of red.
Moving over Mark's house.
East Portland. Look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. 9 o'clock. They're fairly more so over east side up into the Cascade foothills. So yeah, that was pretty eventful. I'm sure a lot of you saw the downpours out there if you live in the metro area. And yeah, Mark, you tallied up some of these numbers between about 7 and 9 o'clock, basically the snapshots I just took you through of the radar. And yeah, those are significant rainfall totals.
I think Troutdale was something like in 1 hour it was 0.7 inch.
Pretty good.
Of that 1.04. So yeah, it was really wet. I mean, that can happen. We always think of like, the wet season, the cool season, right? Like October through March or so, maybe April. But when we do get rain in the warm season, it can be very heavy because, of course, there's more moisture in warmer air. Warmer air, I should say, can hold more moisture. So when it does rain in the summer, it can be big drops and it can really pour. Or, I mean, I don't know. Looking out the window, I wouldn't call this summer, but in the warm, let's just say the warm season. So yeah, we had some huge soakers there.
Yep. I'm glad that you tallied those up. Let's go ahead and take you back to the radar. This was about 7:30, Mark. There was a cell that was moving essentially over the Columbia River, right between Portland and Vancouver. There's some funny business going on there. So this was...
Ooh, how did you... Oh, nice.
Storm relative velocity. Jeff. There's a reason why I pulled this up, Mark. I had some hints. My wife actually was sitting on the deck watching this cell, looking out toward Vancouver, and look at that lowering there.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you line that up with the storm relative velocity. There was certainly a little bit of spin in the atmosphere. And yeah, that looks like perhaps a little wall cloud, a little lowering. There were no confirmed reports of tornadoes or any kind of damage or anything. I don't think anything ended up touching the ground, but yeah, the weather got a little rambunctious yesterday. So,
am I not correct? We have that graphic. I don't have it accessible here, but the graphic that shows monthly tornadoes since 1950 within our viewing area. Isn't September and October, those are the two highest months?
Yeah, I think we talked about it. If there is a tornado season, it's October.
It is
right?
now. Yeah, and September is high too.
Somebody asked me, what is with that area around Vancouver? It seems like, this part of the metro area seems to get a lot of action, whether it's heavier showers or thunderstorms. Right. And I speculated on Facebook this morning, and I said something to the effect of, the air that kind of rolls off the West Hills, perhaps it's stretching the air mass a little bit and creates a little bit more spin sometimes.
Right.
And, of course, speculation, but it was nice to get a like from the meteorologist in charge over at the National Weather Service, Tanya.
Oh, she's nice. I like her.
Yeah, she is. And I think she understood the speculation. Yeah. Some funny business tends to happen in that part of the metro area. It's not the first time we've seen that.
Yeah. And after that Vancouver tornado in 2008, it was Dave Elson. He was a lead forecaster there at the Weather Service in Portland. And I think he and might have been one other person, whoever it was, I want to give credit, but I don't remember the name. And they did a study, and they're theorizing why we get so many in that flat area along the Columbia, Vancouver, is because there's a rolling motion as southwesterly or westerly flow goes over the West Hills. A little extra roll there.
You can see actually the exposed West Hills right there. So if the air is kind of rolling right over it, then some kind of movement occurs in the air mass, and sometimes leads to maybe more lift happening right over the Columbia River. So yeah, that was an interesting feature. Thanks to my wife for sending that photo in.
You notice when you had that radar image two back when you first had the arrow there, that it's hardly any of that fell at PDX. PDX was just on the edge of the heavy rain. So if PDX would have been, 5 miles farther east, could have had 3/4 of an inch of rain yesterday.
Right. And I'm about to show the rainfall totals since yesterday morning, and they're not very impressive for
No.
most of us. But it does feel like we're entering the rainy season now. We're starting to get more, signs of that in the long range forecast. You're probably noticing that more in the 7-day forecast. So we'll get kind of into those details right now. So this is a look at rainfall totals. I believe I pulled these at about 7 o'clock this morning, Mark. So between midnight, early yesterday morning, essentially through Wednesday and into this morning. Yeah, not all that impressive. PDX with a whole 0.14 of an inch of rain. But look at the differences in rainfall totals. I think that might be, gosh, I don't know which rainfall total that is for. Somewhere on the east side or Cascade Foothills.
The
Over an inch.
1.07.
Yeah.
I think that might have been along a kind of south side of Troutdale.
Yeah, there you go. So we were expecting this. The bigger winners have been and are the Cascade Foothills, western facing slopes, the Coast Range. I see one weather station that picked up over an inch of rain to the northeast of Tillamook. But the vast majority of us ended up with like 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch in our western valleys.
It's interesting because, and I read this once, and I guess we know this from experience, that yes, it's a temperate rainforest. The Coast Range, all of the Coast Range, the central and the western slopes of the Cascades are a temperate rainforest. And there's only a brief period each year. I mean, most of the year it's wet. You don't get fires up there. And there's only a brief period. Some years it's just a month. Some years it's 3 months where you can get, large fires that will burn. And boy, once the rain starts to hit and the temperature is cool, that chance goes downhill. So I would say it would not be correct to say this is the end of fire season, but it would be correct to say the chance for large fires now, especially with what we see coming up, the chance for large fires in the Cascades, west slopes of the Cascades, is going downhill quickly. And so I think the window for burning now is closing up.
Okay, you draw a line across the Cascade crest and point to the west. I mean, yeah, things have really changed over the past couple of weeks or so. And
look at down there at the edge of the image there, kind of along the McKenzie River there, 1 to 1.75 inches of rain. Blue River, there was an active fire down there. I don't remember the name, but just east of Blue River. So it got a ton of rain.
Yeah, it's so easy to forget those names of the fires when they stack up like they have this year.
Yeah.
So this is not including today's rainfall. Obviously, we haven't wrapped up today yet, but we've seen 0.17 of an inch of rain. Not a lot of rain, but we're starting to see more frequent days with measurable rain. And in a typical September, we see about 1.5 inches of rain. Climate Prediction Center is continuing to show the Pacific Northwest and a higher likelihood of above normal precipitation for the next 6 to 10 days, and keeps us, leaning that way 8 to 14 days out.
I like this one.
I do too. I'll let you break this one down, Mark.
You know what I really like is whoever made this graphic, look at the beautiful colors as they turn towards fall colors at the bottom.
I wonder who the person was that created this graphic.
It must have been a slow weather day in the early fall. This just shows on any one day what's the chance for measurable rain. And we start from the driest time of the year, August, right around August 1st, 5th, 6th, all the way up to almost Thanksgiving, about the 20th, let's say about the 20th of November. And you can see we bottom out about a 6% chance for rain here in Portland. I mean, it's basically mid-July to mid-August. It's rare to get rain on any one day, 6% chance. But over the last month, we've gradually seen the chances creep up, and we're in the low 20s now. So there's about a 20-something% chance, which isn't high, of course, but we've probably crept up to where we typically are in late May or early June, where we don't have guaranteed, a week or two of dry weather. Long stretches of dry weather become uncommon this time of the year. And you can see it ramps up a little bit more. It's interesting. It kind of ramps up now through about the 20th of September, and then it levels out a bit through mid-October at about
Mark,
35%. Yeah.
This data is based off of historical data, rainfall data at PDX.
Right.
What made you think I want to make this graphic? I want to kind of know where your mindset was.
The mind was working. I have no idea I don't know what my mindset was when I woke up this morning or yesterday.
I just don't know how you produce this graphic. I'm just trying to think
I see what you're saying. And creatively, how did I come up with that?
Yeah.
I think, I know what it is. It's the Weather Service somewhere on their climate page does have a black and white version of this for the whole year. It's just, a smooth thing up and down. But I'm like, okay, I want to see, I just wanted to see it. And I do remember something about the first one may have been a summer one, because at one point, the 4th of July used to have the best chance for rain of any day in July. I doubt that's the case anymore. I think I do remember that fact. Yeah.
that's funny because it's like the one day people want it to be dry, during the summertime.
But I think that was back in like 2008 or 2010. And as we know now, I don't think we've had measurable rain on the 4th of July in 20 something years. So I'm sure that number is not the case anymore.
So I won't give you full credit for this graphic.
Yeah,
Partial credit.
the weather service has the whole year long graphic, but yeah, this one basically covers the fall, and then we have one that covers the late spring and summer.
That's right.
You notice we don't have one of these for the winter because it rains all the time.
Right. So yeah, we are trending up in terms of chances of rainfall, and I just figured I'd show you this.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, this gives you an idea of the wettest months of the year compared to the driest months of the year. And we are now entering wetter months. September ranks what? 4th driest? Something like that?
I mean, it's funny. If we were in spring, we'd say, wow, it's getting nice and dry now. You know what I mean? But when we're heading the other direction, it's like, oh my gosh, now it's raining.
I know. Everybody's like, oh, geez, here we go.
It's significantly drier this month than in May. And May is considered like, it rains a little bit, no biggie.
So for the record, if you're just listening, the wettest month of the year, December. But it's close to November.
Yeah, November and December.
Yeah, they're
pretty
about.
dark.
January is close by too.
I mean, all three of those are pretty close, but it does peak, right on Thanksgiving or early December. People don't realize that later winter tends to be a little drier than early winter.
Portland averages about 37 inches of rain per year. Contrast that to Astoria, which averages over 70 inches of rain per year. And their wettest months, similar to us in Portland, November, December, and January. November actually is climatologically their wettest month out in Astoria, with over 11 inches of rain in that month. Man, I wish I could have pulled some data from the Coast Range. It's amazing how much rain falls in the Coast Range.
Yeah, I think there are places there that average 140, 150 inches a year.
It's crazy. All right, let's talk about what's ahead. We've kind of alluded to it. It seems like we're entering an early fall pattern. Infrared satellite imagery of the Pacific Ocean in the western United States reveals an upper level low passing over the interior Northwest and the upper Intermountain West. That's the system that brought us those downpours yesterday. And it's been pretty showery in eastern Oregon this morning on the backside of that system. We're kind of in between systems now. You can see another one kind of coming into view over the North Pacific Ocean. But we have weak high pressure kind of building in. And just wanted to show you visible satellite imagery of the Northwest this morning. And you could see all the low clouds over western Oregon and western Washington. A nice clearing has taken place over central Oregon, thanks to the rain shadow effect. But yeah, it's been showery over the eastern portion of the state, especially over the Blue and Wallowa Mountains.
That's good for them. I'd say their fire season is pretty much over there.
Wrapping up out there, yeah. So let's go through the upper level pattern for the next week or so. This shows you geopotential heights, taller air masses versus more shallow air masses. Those more shallow air masses tend to be cooler, and the taller air masses are warmer. And the warmer ones are indicated by the orange shades, and the cooler ones are the bluer shades. So this shows anomalies, compared to where we should see the air mass this time of year. And we have a ridge building over the eastern Pacific, but it's not impacting us whatsoever. In fact, Mark, the placement of the ridge over the next week or so will kind of be steering those cooler weather systems through. And if we were in, December, January, boy, this would be a prolific snow pattern for the Cascades. So we'll kind of go through this for you. Late Thursday, shows that upper level low moving into the upper Intermountain West and the northern high plains. And we're kind of in between weather systems tomorrow, so it'll be a nice dry day tomorrow with weak ridging building over the Pacific Northwest. But
flat flow. Yeah.
Zonal flow, if you will.
No hot ridge, no trough.
Yeah.
Meh.
Yeah.
Mid.
Meh.
That's what the kids say. It's mid.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that until you brought that up last week. Or wait, when did you bring that up?
It's mid. I think Camilla told me that one.
I think you brought that up. Camilla was sharing that. So, but there is a little bit of a trough kind of digging into BC at that time, Friday afternoon. And then Saturday, we have a trough kind of digging in. That'll bring probably a few showers on Saturday. I would plan on, some wet time on Saturday, but more dry time than wet time.
Right.
And then that upper low really digs in and dives into California, it looks like. Southern Oregon and California Sunday. Sunday's trending drier for us. I think it'll be a mainly dry day. And so will Monday.
Wow, that's great for California. That's unusual in September, isn't it?
It is unusual. very unusual to have that deep of a
Again.
trough digging down that far south. But I don't think it's great, Mark. I do think that they're going to deal with a period of offshore flow.
Oh, you
with
mean
the
after
low.
or before?
I think more so after, because they'll probably get some showers maybe over the Cascades, the Sierra Nevada, with a little bit of lift on the east side of that trough. But yeah, I think once it's positioned there, they're probably going to get some offshore flow, and there's some big fires.
Because they get a
burning down
north
south.
wind then out of that behind it
Right.
as it goes by, and there's just not that much precip. Yeah, it looks impressive, like a big winter storm thing, but
No doubt.
there's just not that much moisture, huh? It sure will cool them off. Wow.
It will cool them
but then
off.
they get wind, I suppose, which is a problem.
I'm waiting for my parents down in the Greater Palm Springs area to text me. Man, it's nice out here. It's only 90.
True. Yeah, I forget. They'll cool off from 110 down to like 88 and say, this is great, but that can still fuel fires.
Exactly.
So you're
Probably
right.
80s. Yeah.
But that is a La Nina pattern where you have the troughs dipping in. We were having that in the spring.
Yeah.
Wait, we had that pattern, but we didn't have La Nina, but where the kind of troughs dip in like that with ridging farther west.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what I was describing to you, Mark, is with the ridge placement right here. I mean, that's the kind of stuff where we're like, are we going to get any lowland snow? That's the kind of pattern we want to see, where the ridge is steering those. Well, we don't. I do, the weather nerd.
I do nerd too, not while I'm in this job.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. All right. So that was through the weekend and into early next week. That system dives to the south. I think we're going to have completely dry weather Sunday into Monday. Tuesday, all of a sudden, another system starts to dig in as that first system moves off to the east. Watch how quickly, Mark, that thing develops. Once again, they have an upper level low right over California midweek of next week. And I think by late Wednesday into Thursday, we're drying out as ridging builds in. And that's that. So let's take a look at, how the temperatures may be trending. And they're going to stay pretty steady, it looks like, for the next 5 days or so.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, those 850s just aren't getting that warm. I don't know what the average in September is. I'm sure there's a climatological drop in the upper air temperature as we go through the month, but I know August was 14. So what's September, like 10?
Probably.
It's near below average the whole time.
Computer models and their ensembles have been hinting at some kind of warming happening maybe the last week. I would say between the 21st and 27th, 26th. So toward the last week of September.
And I've been wondering why they don't have much higher heights or 850 millibar temps, but looking at that pattern, you can see why. If the ridging wants to stay a little farther offshore, we're probably getting, and the different ensemble members probably getting troughs trying to kind of suppress the ridge a bit. And that might explain you probably have it coming up. I did glance at the actual high and low forecasts off the ensembles, but
I got you.
I'm not going to steal your.
I'll show the NBM guidance.
Okay.
But yeah, this tells me, if we're going to follow the ensemble outlook, the Euro ensemble outlook, that we could see highs climbing back into the upper 70s and low 80s for a few days. Somebody asked me, are we done with the 80s? And I said, maybe not yet.
I don't think so. Wait, is it the same person on Twitter that asked me? Are they shopping for an 80s forecast?
Maybe. Yeah, it was Twitter. X.
I wonder if it's the same person. X.
Twitter
I'm not
X.
going to call it X. That guy's nuts.
All right, so that was the Euro outlook. GFS is hinting at something similar, maybe not quite as warm, maybe more like mid to upper 70s for a few days. But yeah, I think something is up toward the end of the month. We might be warming up a little bit, but we're done with heat waves.
It's interesting. I agree. The control runs of both of those are well above the average on both models there.
Yeah.
Is that the Euro? Can you back up one? I know you like control, but
no, you're good.
Oh yeah. Oh, actually, it has it probably has 90 or so on the Euro there at the end of.
It does, yeah. You can see the
middle of the following week.
The control, and then the GFS control doesn't quite bump up to 20 degrees Celsius at 5,000 feet. So yeah, we're probably done with the 90s, but
we could get a day.
It's still possible.
We're done with it. You're right. We're done with heat waves for sure. That's not going to happen.
And look at this. There's really good agreement among the Euro ensemble members that we'll get some showers around Saturday, Sunday. This kind of pushes it into Sunday, actually, which is interesting.
Although that one is, remember, that's 24 hours ending at that time on any one of those little
That's
blocks.
right. Okay.
So you could have showers Saturday morning, and it'll show it all the way till Sunday morning, of course, because that's 24 hours.
That seems more realistic, considering how the upper level.
I'm not saying it's not a possibility Sunday. So yeah, so I guess if you go to Monday, oh my gosh, my eyes. Yeah, if you go to Monday 12Z, there's still a few in there, maybe a third that have a trace. So that's your slight chance for Sunday, I suppose.
Yeah. Can't rule it out Sunday, but I would say mainly dry Sunday, dry Monday. And then all of a sudden we have a wetter system coming in on Tuesday, and that'll linger into Wednesday. And
I hope you cleaned up my forecast a little. So, oh wait, I don't want to dump on Katie, but I'm just saying, I walked in. It's always weird as meteorologists when we walk in and we're using somebody else's forecast. I'm not saying Katie did anything wrong. I'm just saying so I walked in. I did a half day yesterday because I wasn't expecting to work. We had a change where I needed to come in, and so I walk in at 7:30, and I kind of get organized, get my makeup on, get the suit on, and all that stuff, and then I'm kind of looking at the maps as I'm doing my on-air stuff during the 9 o'clock show. And I'm like, wait a minute, I think we should have more rain on Tuesday. And then I think during the 10, I'm like, wait a minute, maybe it's late Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't know why it's so rainy. So it's always odd to work with somebody else's forecast and then look at things. So did you clean it up a little?
I cleaned it up. You'll see.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Thanks for cleaning up my mess.
So yeah, this is telling me we have a series of weather systems coming through. The first one is departing now. That's the first one right here. Second one, you can see my cursor, Saturday into early Sunday, perhaps. Few showers, and then more of a soaking rain along and west of the Cascades around midweek. We're thinking Tuesday into Wednesday. And there's no great agreement about anything organized beyond that. And that's why I think the models are hinting at a warming trend, maybe somewhere in the last 10 days of September.
But it sure is not a guaranteed week-long dry spell. Look at all those ensemble members who do have showers. This looks more like we would see in, I don't know, June, where it's like, maybe something might try to slip through in there somewhere and get us some showers.
Exactly. And there's good agreement between the GFS and Euro ensemble members that a few showers Saturday perhaps, and then more of a rain coming through Tuesday into Wednesday.
Another soaking.
And I think we always need to approach with caution beyond 7 to 10 days, right? During the fall, because you have competing air masses. Things are just changing out there, and there's a lot of chaos in the long range. This is bumping up, measurable, how much rain we might see, measurable rain over the next 7 to 10 days. It's starting to creep up into the half an inch to an inch range when you look at the Euro outlook. So this should help to really temper fire season if it hasn't already been tempered. Yeah. So this is the National Blend of Models temperature outlook for Portland before we show our 7-day forecast. And fairly steady, Mark, 60s to 70s, nothing too warm, nothing too cool. Early fall is what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Fall is here.
And here's a look at our updated 7-day forecast as of Thursday morning, September 12th. And yeah, what I did was I just said turning wet because we don't know what the timing is like for next Tuesday. The arrival of the rain.
There's nothing that sticks out. Hey, I should point out, so we discussed fire weather and then looking at this and then looking at those maps. So now the big thing is every late summer and early fall, hey, are we going to have a big east wind episodes? After 2020, everybody got scared like, hey, are we going to have a big east wind episode and have power shutoffs or anything? We don't see anything like that. We have no big ridging that would give us a strong east wind. And actually now that we've had the showers, as we saw with last week's heat wave, there were no power planned.
Public safety power shutoffs. PSPS.
I know it's PSPS, but I always forget the words. Yeah, public safety power shutoffs. Because now the woods have been moistened a bit. And even when it hit 102 last week and then we had some easterly wind, the woods have been moistened in late August. So we're in the clear now. I don't see that happening again this year. I think we avoided it last year. We've had 2 years, I thought, where we didn't have to worry about it. So
yeah,
I think
it's all great news. And fun fact, the woods have been moistened was my band name back in high school. So
no, you said it was the atmospheric raft or something. No, atmospheric. What was it? Atmospheric.
I forget. All right, moving on. Average first frost. Somebody actually did ask me yesterday on Facebook. What?
Oh, I was just thinking people are thinking that way already, but I guess once you get to the end of September, early October, you do start thinking about it.
Well, and people still have stuff that they're harvesting in their gardens, so I totally understand.
Well, yeah, we do have viewers that live in ice. We have viewers that live in colder places than the west side of the Cascades.
Like there?
Yeah. There you go. It's already happened in some places.
Yeah, it has actually. Boy, I can't even remember the day. Last week, we were seeing temperatures in the 30s out in parts of central and eastern Oregon. So yeah, that lines up. Late August into early September, we tend to get our first frost in parts of central and eastern Oregon. Sun River averages their first frost on August 23rd.
Yeah, there's a reason you don't see big gardens in Sun River and Lapine because you can't. I don't think you can grow corn there. You can't grow tomatoes. You'd have to have a greenhouse to do some of that stuff. Yes, it may be hot when you're there in July and August, but that's pretty much the only time that it's hot. And,
Yeah,
and even when it's hot, it's 42 degrees overnight when it was 95 during the day.
there's those extreme temperature swings that you
Yeah.
get in those drier air masses. Up to the north, though, of course, it is warmer toward La Grande and the Columbia River Basin. So we tend to see our first frost during October
Mhm.
in those parts of the region. Meanwhile, west of the Cascades, we're still probably a ways away from getting our first frost, which tends to happen between late September and November.
I would say, yeah, in rural areas away from the cities tends to be sometime in October, maybe mid to late. And then if it's a mild fall, even in those rural areas, it may not happen until early to mid November. And of course, Portland is in its own little area because it's
Yeah.
such a big urban area.
Yeah, Portland averages first frost November 16th. It varies so much, Mark, because we have so many microclimates.
If you think about it, if you are gardening on a porch in the Pearl District, even if it's exposed to the sky, you may not get a frost until December. You may only
Right.
get, if we don't have a deep freeze in the winter, you might only have 5 frosts in the whole winter if you're in the middle of the city like that.
Meanwhile, if you're out in Hillsboro, it can be much earlier. I mean,
Right. Oh, I like that graphic.
I do too, which you made, right?
Why is
Yes.
it that purple color, pinkish color? Why did I choose that?
There's a reason for that. Just
That's right. I know.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
So back in 2019, Mark, Hillsboro got a frost on October 1st, which is only a few weeks away from now. So, yeah, those outlying spots, I see Corvallis often is much cooler than Salem or Portland. So in those wind-sheltered environments, for instance, outlying spots that are more grassy or, have more vegetation as opposed to cement and asphalt, we tend to see cooler nights.
Those 2 La Nina years, when we had back-to-back La Ninas, 2017-18 and then 18-19, look how it was very different each of those years. That was 3 weeks apart. Mid-October the first year, then early November the second year. So,
Well, and of course, 2016 didn't get a frost until December 5th. That's pretty late.
yeah, that
In
was it.
Hillsboro.
Really warm stuff. Those were 2 warm winters.
And there you go. We added Portland here just to show you that Portland tends to have a later frost. Urban heat island effect tends to keep the city a little bit warmer, more asphalt and pavement. So if you are growing a garden in the Pearl District on your deck, you're in better shape. You'll be lasting a little longer.
Correct. Now back it up. Can you go back one?
Sure.
We just said 2016. Hillsboro, December 5th. It's like, wow, really warm. So I bet it's going to be a warm, mild winter, right? That 16-17 was the worst winter we'd had in like 25 years.
Oh,
So what the frost in the fall has no correlation as far as I'm
No.
aware to what's coming up for the winter. So yeah, and then we soon after that we were into ice storms and snowstorms within a week after that actually.
it can change very quickly around here.
Yeah.
Mark, this was
Look
my
at your
best.
apples.
This was my best apple season yet. Ours, Katie included, and Pepper. Pepper's in the shot too.
Look at that.
And that one all the way on the right of the screen in my left hand, it's hard to put it it's really hard for the picture to, give you the actual size of the apple, but this thing was huge. I mean, like in terms of like store-bought apples, it would have rivaled some of those.
Nice. You did well this year, Jeff. You did very well.
This wasn't all of them, but this was some of the best ones that we picked about a week ago. So there's one in my hand, and yeah, they tasted pretty darn good.
Look at the cut picture. We've got them cut up like a.
Something that I'll learn in time is not to pick them too early. I mean, you think they're looking good, you go for it, and then it's like, oh, it's still kind of sour,
I always know when a few start falling. I have larger trees, so I can afford to do this. But if a few start falling, then that's always the hint. Like, oh, they're getting ready.
So thank you for helping me prune those trees. I'm more
Do you
prepared.
want any pears? Because I know we're gonna have way too many pears. The tree's just starting.
Would love some. Yeah, we put them in salads and stuff, and on pizzas. We have a
Yeah,
little
let them
pizza
ripen.
oven.
With the pears, you gotta. I'll bring them to you. They'll be green, but then they ripen over the next week or so.
By the way, Mark, you suggested that I put chicken poo on the tree for fertilizer on the trees.
Right.
Of course, I don't have chickens, so my next best thing that I could have done was put grass shreds
Oh, okay.
on. And I don't know if that was the reason why or because I was watering more frequently, but I think I'm going to use the grass again. Just kind of mow the lawn and then dump it on.
Didn't you tell me in the previous years you hadn't even watered those poor trees?
I was slacking. I was
I mean,
slacking.
they had to survive 3 months with no water, and they were little trees. You're
Well, I
lucky
would
they were
water it
alive.
periodically, but I started
A good
watering it like
soaking.
weekly. Yeah.
Yeah, good soaking. And then also you thin them this year. So
Yep. Exactly.
and you still have plenty. See?
Yep.
Got to thin them.
So
Good job,
thanks,
Jeff. I
thanks
am
to the-
impressed.
Thanks to the Apple guru, Mark Nelson. All
Yeah.
right, we're gonna wrap up this podcast with a couple of viewer photos here. This was sent in by Troy out in Trout Lake. Beautiful sunset taken on September 9th. Thanks to Troy for sending this one in. And this was last weekend.
Ooh, yeah.
Mark, I think you were working this. Were you not? You
Oh
were
yeah,
saying-
I was. Yeah, I was working that evening. Hello. Yeah, it was Thursday or Friday. Oh no, it was Friday night
Was
because
it
it was
Friday?
high school football games.
You were
Yes.
like, oh, I saw you tweet, we've got some thunderstorms rolling into the Central Valley.
I got on it. That was exciting. Yes, because we actually had action. I had stuff to track. We could push out videos to our app. That was fun. And was I on my own? No, it was Camilla too, I think. And yeah, there were some high school football games down in the Central Valley that were suspended. I don't know if they were able to finish, but yeah, they had to stop play.
Beautiful
Some of
shot
those-
here. By
We
the
didn't
way.
expect them to come over the Cascades, or we knew it was possible, but we thought they'll probably stay in the Cascades. But then some did slip over the mountains. Yeah,
Nam Nest did really well with that a day or two in advance.
I will give you full credit for that, Namnest, since that's your big thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it overdoes it other times, but it definitely was. It nailed that. Didn't you have lightning later that night? Because I didn't have any here. I left my windows wide open that night, but then I saw 3 strikes over Southwest Portland.
3 strikes, you're out. It wasn't me, actually.
Yeah.
It may have been Katie.
That's interesting.
But yeah, great shot. Thanks to Chelsea Jurica for sending this in out of Lebanon. And yeah, we call that CG. Cloud to. Oh no, that's not CG. Why did I put CG? It's CC.
Well, there was
cloud
one
to cloud.
maybe behind you. You just didn't see
I hope
it.
so.
That's what we're going to say.
What you're looking at is cloud to cloud.
It'd be
lightning.
CC.
Somebody's going to call me out for that. I'm sorry, everybody. I know what it is. I promise.
Jeff's just making things up.
Ugh. Well, that about does it. Got anything else, Mark?
Yeah, we had a robust episode chock full of meteorological information. I think next week we'll see if we can talk about La Nina
I think so too. Yeah.
or La Nada. I mean El Nada.
La Nada
It's not De Nada.
is
it's-
neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be La. Yeah, it'd be La. Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us, of course, for the Fox 12 Weather Podcast, episode 116. We'll be back next week talking about if we're actually going to see a warm up toward the end of the month. We'll probably have a better indication to that. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
So stop your waiting and hesitating and tell us